Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for April 3rd, 2018. On today's show, we're going to discuss the latest film news. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Sciretta, and joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film writers Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
And Hoai-Tran Bui.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, guys, let's just get into it because we got a bunch of news. We didn't have news yesterday because we had a extended water cooler segment and the feature presentation. So we're covering 2 days worth of news, but it is, following Easter, so news was kind of slower. So let's start off with news today that Fox Searchlight has signed a deal with Guillermo Del Toro to do what, Chris?
Yeah, so Fox Searchlight is very happy with Guillermo Del Toro after he took home a bunch of Oscars for The Shape of Water, and they've signed a deal with him that enables him to just write, direct, and produce pretty much any sort of horror, sci-fi, fantasy film he wants with them. And they're also developing a whole new label that is entirely devoted to horror and sci-fi, and that's going to include Del Toro's films and other films as well. So this is great, especially if you're a Del Toro fan, because anyone who's followed his career knows that Guillermo Del Toro has had some trouble over the years getting certain projects off the ground. He's got a laundry list of unmade films, and now that he's taken home those Oscars, it seems like he finally has the clout that he's always deserved. So now he's pretty much getting free range to do what he wants. So this is very exciting.
What do you think this is going to be called? It's going to be called Fox Darklight?
I don't know. I don't know.
It does seem interesting, if Fox Searchlight seems like the type of company that if Guillermo Del Toro could make a movie for a certain price, they're ready to greenlight it. But that doesn't include like these mega budget projects like, Mountains of Madness, which, cost like hundreds of millions of dollars. But in this news, there is news of the first project that he's producing for Fox Searchlight.
Yeah, it's a film called Antlers. It's being directed by Scott Cooper, who directed Hostiles and Black Mass. And it's being written by Nick Antkoska, who is the guy who created Channel Zero, which is a really good horror show on the Sci-Fi Channel, or I guess it's just called Sci-Fi now. A lot of people don't watch it. It doesn't have as much buzz as, say, American Horror Story, but I highly recommend that show if you've never checked it out. It's really good.
Well, I am happy to see Guillermo del Toro with another home and another partnership, which means that we won't have to wait many years to see another Guillermo del Toro film. But let's move on from that. Ready Player One did some big business at the box office this weekend, and in the wake of that, they have announced a writer for Ernest Cline's next book, Armada. HT, you wrote this up for the site. What do we know?
So Ernest Cline's follow-up novel to Ready Player One, Armada, is being developed into a movie. And Universal Studios has tapped Wrath of the Titans writer Dan Mazow to pen the script for the Armada movie. So Ernest Cline actually wrote an early draft of the script for Armada, and he will remain in collaboration with Mazow as he pens another draft.
So what is this book about?
So Armada is a 2015 novel that follows a teenager who's an expert in an online video game that about fighting an alien invasion. But he discovers that this video game was actually a recruitment tool for an international galactic army who has been using it to train him and others to fend off a real alien invasion. So it's basically a riff off of The Last Starfighter and other sort of video game turned into real sci-fi battles like Ender's Game, for example. So it's also a book that's filled to the brim with Easter eggs and references to 80s and 90s pop culture, and it didn't quite meet the soaring success of Ready Player One that Cline met with his literary debut, and it kind of had actually a few poor reviews when it came out in 2015. Although a couple people did say that it would work well as a movie more than it works as a book.
Yeah, have either of you read this book?
I haven't read it.
No.
That is a strong no from Chris. It does not sound like his cup of tea. I've not read it either, but I have a bunch of friends who have, and they say it's not a good book. But yeah, like you said, it definitely almost seems like it was written to be a movie. Like that this book, the whole purpose of this book was to sell it and adapt it into a movie. So I'm interested to see what it's like, because I am a fan of Last Starfighter. Although I'm not sure if we need another movie full of, references to, pop culture of 1980s. Chris, do we need it?
It's not that we don't need it. It's just that, all right, no, we don't need it. Yeah.
As expected. Okay, let's move on. We have a couple stories here about an alternate universe where things might have been completely different. Let's start this off with Avengers, because apparently Avengers, the original screenplay for Avengers, was going to really downplay Thor's role. Chris, you wrote this up for the site. What do we know?
So Zach Penn, who also wrote the screenplay for Ready Player One, he wrote an early draft of the Avengers before Joss Whedon came in and basically rewrote his script. And in a very early draft, Zach Penn was saying he and Marvel basically weren't really convinced that Thor was going to work as a character. And Thor's role in the original Avengers script was being underwritten. They were basically trying to give him the least amount of screen time as possible. That all changed when Chris Hemsworth came in and auditioned to play Thor, and everyone was just so impressed with his audition that they realized that maybe Thor really can work on the big screen. So when Joss Whedon took over, it was rewritten so that Thor would have a more substantial part in Avengers and the MCU in general.
It's interesting that even Marvel was worried about that character on the big screen, and probably rightfully so, because it took them 3 movies to get a Thor movie right. Right?
Hey, I will defend the first Thor movie. I actually quite like that film, and I think it only really suffers in the last third, as many Marvel movies do. It's a really great sort of Shakespearean, fun, galactic movie, and I will defend it.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy the fish out of waterness of the first 2 acts of that film. But we should talk about the other thing, the other story from an alternate timeline, and that is that Jurassic Park almost cut out one of the best characters in the movie. HT, you wrote this up for the site. What do we know?
The best character of the movie, Peter. So, Jeff Goldblum, who played Dr. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park and several of its sequels, revealed that Ian Malcolm was almost written out of Jurassic Park. So his character was going to be merged with Sam Neill's character, Dr. Alan Grant. And he discovered this as he was in talks to take on the role, and as he was meeting with Steven Spielberg for the first time. I'm not going to try to read what he said just as he said it, because it's full of sort of Goldblumisms. But he said that he met with Spielberg, and he said, Spielberg was so nice, but he said, there's a sort of movement afoot to have that part removed from the script. So since we've had this meeting, there's this little wrinkle that may render this moot. And Jeff Goldblum said, I kind of said, well, gee, I felt moved to advocate for my inclusion. So as you see, that did not happen. And Ian Malcolm stayed in the film and became the best part of the movie and the poster boy for every teenage girl's bedroom.
I mean, I can definitely see that from a screenwriting point of view. If you think about it, Dr. Grant is very kind of cynical and negative, and Ian Malcolm is also playing that role. It would be easy to merge those characters into one person, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically, Ian Malcolm didn't really have much to do other than stick his hips out and flirt with Laura Dern. So I guess you could have written him out, but Jurassic Park did help sort of launch Jeff Goldblum into another sphere of stardom, and I don't think the movie would have done quite so well without him.
Oh, for sure. Another story, Jacob Hall wrote this for the site yesterday, and it is a rumor that Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida is planning a 4th Florida park. I think this is a little bit more than a rumor, because last year, or actually in 2015 and 2017, Universal acquired a huge spot of land close by to their Orlando parks. And, it's been rumored for some time that they're going to start a fourth park. But this new rumor claims that this new park project is called Project 314, and they are hoping to get it finished by 2023 or 2024. And as the rumor states, this new project would include Super Nintendo World, which is a land that they are building in one of their parks overseas, and was rumored for some time to be coming to Universal Orlando. But the other parts of this rumor are kind of interesting, that they might have a Lord of the Rings world. I don't even know what that would be. I guess maybe Hobbiton? Or, what could that be? Chris, H.E., are you big fans of the Lord of the Rings series?
I am. I would really like to see either Hobbiton or Rivendell. Rivendell would be beautiful, but extremely hard to make as a theme park, I think.
Chris, where would you like to visit in the Lord of the Rings universe?
I don't know. I mean, I love those movies. I'm not, into the books as much, but the movies are great. And there is a lot of, there's so many different landscapes they travel to in those movies. You could pretty much turn any of them into a park. Although I don't know if I want to go to like the one with the spider. That would probably be a bit much. But other than that, yeah, you could do a lot with that.
I feel like it has to be Hobbiton. I feel like you have to start out in Hobbiton, and then the ride brings you through the entire adventure. But Warner Brothers has had a deal with Universal to bring the Wizarding World of Harry Potter to their theme park. So it doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it's impossible for this rumor to be true. And obviously, the Tolkien estate has been suddenly more open to letting other people play in their sandbox. They announced that Lord of the Rings TV show at Amazon, and the third part of this rumor is that they will build a third part of the Wizarding World. They will create the Ministry of Magic in this new park, part of that we saw in Fantastic Beasts. Now, I'm excited to go to Hogsmeade. I'm excited to go to Diagon Alley. I'm a little less excited to go to the Ministry of Magic. HT, I know you're a fan of the series. Would you enjoy going to the Ministry?
Not the first floor. There is actually a lot you could do with the Ministry of Magic, especially the Hall of Mysteries that they have that you go to in the fifth movie, Order of the Phoenix. So that would be a really cool sort of maze, labyrinth type part of the theme park, I think. But yeah, Ministry of Magic is not the first thing I would think of when you go to visit a theme park about Harry Potter.
It's very stuffy. It's very
It is. It's very austere.
Yeah, it's like if they made a theme park and you went to the White House. Oh, well, I guess they have that. Yeah, I don't know. And the fourth part of this rumor is that they're going to create a land based on Jurassic World, which is very strange because Universal Islands of Adventure next door has a mini land based on Jurassic Park. So I'm not sure how they would explain this. Does Universal even need to explain this? I don't know. If it was Disney, they would have to explain it, but Universal seems to be all over the place, and it doesn't seem to be like a connective theme between all of these because, there's video games, there's movies, it just, I don't know. We'll have to see if this rumor comes true. I will be there opening day if they do open up a fourth park. I am excited. HT, because you're a fan of Potter and Lord of the Rings, is this a park that you would actually pay to travel to?
I would. I actually went to the Harry Potter land in Universal Orlando when it first opened, and that was a lot of fun, even though they didn't have quite a lot of rides yet. They only had one ride, actually, and they had like a small area of Hogsmeade that was sort of merged with Diagon Alley. I know they have more rides now, so I'm planning to go back at some point, but I would definitely be down to see more of just Harry Potter world and be completely enveloped in it. And Lord of the Rings, too, that would be amazing to do, especially since it's very expensive to just go over to New Zealand, which is where Middle-earth really is. So I would totally be down to go to a theme park that's a much cheaper version of that.
And it's also interesting because like much of Lord of the Rings is like based on the filming locations in New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand.
Like, see, that's why I think you would either have to go with kind of like one of those climactic battle sequences, or like Hobbiton, like something that like is very world building esque, like not just like a part of this world that exists somewhere, in New Zealand. But I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what that turns out to be, if it actually ends up happening. But let's move on to our next story, and that is another rumor that Woody Harrelson might be playing Carnage in the Venom movie. Chris, what do we know?
Yes, so Woody Harrelson was announced a while ago as joining Venom. At the time when the story first broke, it said he was only playing a henchman. But Bleeding Cool says they heard from an inside source that he's actually playing Carnage, who is, yet another alien-infected character who I know primarily from the video game Maximum Carnage, which I used to play constantly as a child. So there's not really any confirmation on this rumor beyond what Bleeding Cool heard. It's strange because, like I said, it really conflicts with that whole henchman thing. I also feel like if he were playing Carnage in a big, like, sort of major role like that, we'd have heard it by now. So my only guess is if he is playing this character, it's sort of something that happens at near like the end of the film to set up Venom 2 or something like that. But that's just my guess.
Yeah, it's strange because Bleeding Cool usually has, their pulse on these kind of rumors. They have some sources in the comic book world. We'll have to see. But let's move on to our final bit, and that is Avengers 4. The Russo brothers and Thanos have asked fans and press not to spoil Avengers Infinity War. HD, tell us about it.
Yeah, so the Russo brothers released a letter imploring the fans of Avengers Infinity War to not spoil the movie when the early screenings of select footage is sort of screened throughout the world. So the Infinity War team is embarking on its worldwide press tour, and not only are they talking to journalists, but they're going to be showing select footage of the superhero ensemble to fans across the globe. And these early screenings will run the risk of Infinity War spoilers leaking, but the Russo brothers are hoping to sort of preempt that with this kind of cute letter talking to their fans, and also showing with the glove of with the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos. So it has like the hashtag Thanos demands your silence. So it's a cute little stunt that they're doing really well with, like the social media stunts for Infinity War these days. And I think it's another good one to sort of try to keep at bay whatever spoilers might leak before the film's release, April 27th.
It should be mentioned that Disney is keeping, this mystery box kind of closed because the junket for Infinity War takes place the weekend, or at least domestically in Hollywood, takes place the weekend before the film's release in theaters on April 27th. And usually at these junkets, you usually will see the movie the day before the junket and then go to the junket and interview, the cast and crew about what you have seen. Now, the only movie that I can think of that has ever done that differently is the Star Wars films. They traditionally do not show the movie to press. The press go to the junket and interview the cast and crew based on just what they've seen in trailers and stuff, not actually having seen the movie. And all the interviews are based on that. The problem with that is obviously you get no actual information, and but it's Star Wars, so like, does Star Wars actually need press anyways? Does Avengers need press anyways? The world premiere for Avengers is the Monday before release in Hollywood somewhere, and press and a lot of fans. I hear this is going to be just as big of a world premiere as they did with the Star Wars films, which they did, I think, in multiple theaters. So a lot of people are going to see this movie the Monday before release. That's 4 days before the film hits theaters on like midnight on Thursday night. So there is a big chance of you getting spoiled that week. Now, I usually see movies ahead of time. I get to see these press screenings. Chris, I know you see a lot of press screenings. HT, you see less so. Would you guys be upset if someone spoiled Infinity War for you, 3 days before the movie hit theaters?
You guys know how I feel about spoilers. I don't think they're a huge deal. I think if someone was, maliciously going about spreading spoilers, I would be very annoyed and angered by that person. But
people do that. One of my friends got spoiled on Force Awakens in an Amazon review for some product that was not Star Wars related. Some troll was just posting, spoilers in
that's annoying.
in the reviews. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I learned it a couple of days before, then I probably wouldn't be angry. I might be a little annoyed, but it wouldn't stop me from seeing the movie.
Chris, how about you?
I'm sort of indifferent to spoilers in that I don't really get too upset about them. I guess it would depend on how serious the spoiler is, because I already know before even seeing this movie that certain characters will likely die. So if someone says so and so dies in this movie, I'm not going to be like, how shocking, because I'm going to be like, oh, I figured that was going to happen. Yeah. But yeah, it wouldn't so much ruin the movie for me, but I also feel like it's a shitty thing to do, so I hope no one does it intentionally, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you. You can be assured our coverage on slashfilm.com until the movie is released will be spoiler free, or will at least have spoiler warnings. You can, come to us, shut yourself off from the rest of the internet, the wild, wild west of the internet, where people can just run out of the bushes and be like, Dumbledore got killed by whatever. So here is your safe place. But let's get into one last bit of Avengers 4 newsage, and that is the Russo brothers are out doing press for this, and they have said that the title for Avengers 4, the movie that follows Avengers Infinity War, should scare Marvel fans. Chris, what does this mean?
It could mean literally anything you want it to mean. But yeah, someone on Twitter said, the fact that the Russo brothers won't give us the Avengers 4 title because it spoils Infinity War scares the shit out of me. And the Russo brothers replied with, it should. It just seems to, that the likely answer is this, the title heavily implies how screwed the Avengers are as a team. The runner... The main title that people seem to be suggesting is Avengers Disassembled, since Avengers Assembled was the title in the UK of the first Avengers film. But this is one of those things,
and that's a title from the comic books as well.
Right. So this is one of those things you could feel free to speculate wildly what it means. I'm guessing we're going to get the title almost immediately after, Avengers Infinity War comes out. Probably like the week after the weekend is when they're going to announce the title. That's my guess.
Yeah. I almost wonder if, Avengers Infinity War will end with a trailer or like a teaser trailer for whatever Avengers 4 is. In our Slack channel, our /film Slack channel, we, kind of theorized on what this title could be. I suggested Avengers Shattered Heroes. But we got more and more ridiculous here. Some of these items which are in this post, which you can read on slashfilm.com, I'll link it in the show notes, include Avengers Death of the Avengers, Avengers Iron Man dies in this one, Avengers The End of the MCU, Avengers Everyone's Dead, Avengers Trump is Still President, Avengers I Love the Smell of Thanos in the Morning. I'm not sure who came up with that one. But yes, so you can read our full list. By Ben Pearson wrote this article on slashfilm.com, and you can obviously find links to all the articles we mentioned today in the show notes and on slashfilm.com. Chris, where can people find more of your work online?
I'm at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at Evangelista413.
HT, where can I find you?
I'm also at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at HTranBuoy.
You can find me at /film on Twitter. You can find me at slashfilm.com. Obviously, /film Daily is published every weekday on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. Please feel free to send us your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to Peter at /film.com. Please go rate and review this podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends, spread the word, and we'll see you tomorrow.